Hello teachers. The topic that I have chosen for presentation is regarding land resources and soil erosion. At the end of this module, we will be able to understand what exactly land resources are, and we will also understand its importance, followed by which we will be learning about soil erosion and the causes and effects of soil erosion. Towards the end of the module, we will also be learning about the measures that we can take to prevent soil erosion from occurring. To begin with, what exactly are these land resources? As the name itself suggests, resources that are obtained from land are named as land resources. Now, we all know that a large area of earth is covered by land and water, right? So 11% of the total land on the earth's surface is agricultural land. The remaining consists of deserts, forest land, etc. Among these 11%, which is cultivable, 2.4 of this whole area is in India. Now, we will notice that the land is covered with fine particles, which is called as the soil. And this area, which is covered by soil, is called as the soil area. Now, the soil consists of 4 different components, which are very important. First one, minerals, followed by creamy ingredients, moisture, and soil air. Now, as we know, we extract a lot of minerals from the soil. Now, these minerals contribute to 45% of the soil component. India being a very fastly growing economy, we have a major source of income coming from these minerals. Next comes the creamy ingredients, which consists of the organic matter, which are very important for the plants to grow. Followed by that, there is moisture content, which is nothing but the amount of water or the humidity present in the soil. This also helps the plants to grow. The last one is the soil air, wherein in between the soil particles, some air is trapped, and this air is necessary or important for the microorganisms and the plants to grow. Now, we might be wondering, why should we learn about land resources and soil? The reason is that land resources are very important because they are the reason why we are able to sustain all our basic needs and requirements like food, shelter, clothing, etc. are obtained from land. Not just human beings, but also animals, birds, plants, etc. are directly or indirectly dependent on the land resources. And just like I discussed earlier, India is a growing economy wherein agriculture is a major backbone of our country. So the 2 important points regarding land resources are the basic needs of human beings, animals, etc. are met, and then also the economic growth, which in turn is responsible for the political growth, etc., is also dependent on the availability and usage of land resources. Sometimes, followed by learning about the soil, we need to learn about soil erosion. There are cases where sometimes the top layer of the soil is removed due to certain natural or man-made activities. Now, this process of the removal of the top layer of the soil is called as soil erosion. There are a lot of reasons for soil erosion, which we'll be learning one by one. The first one will be due to hurricanes and storms, as it is very much visible in the picture. When there are strong winds blowing during hurricanes and storm, the top layer of the soil tends to get carried away by the strong wind. That could contribute to the top layer of the soil being eroded. That is one major reason of soil erosion. The second reason is overgrazing by animals. Now, cattle, goat, and cows, etc., are allowed to graze for a particular time in a certain area. In case they are allowed to overgraze in a particular area for a longer period of time, almost all the plants and the grass that are covering the area will be eaten away by these animals, which will expose the top layer of the soil. The point to be noted here is that when there is grass and a lot of plants growing in a particular area, the roots of the plants tend to bind the particles of soil together, which will help in prevention of the soil erosion. When the wind is blowing, when the hurricanes come and the particular land is covered by plants and trees especially, then the erosion can be prevented. But when these animals are overgrazing, what happens is that the top layer of the soil gets exposed to the wind and water, and thus the soil gets eroded away. The next reason is erosion by streams. The top layer of the soil can also be removed when there is a constant water flow happening in that particular area. So along with the top layer of the soil, all the nutritive content of the soil is also getting eroded. The next reason is due to artificial reasons, man-made reasons, wherein deforestation plays a very important role. Now, what do we understand by the term deforestation is that the large-scale cutting or removal of trees is called as deforestation. There might be a lot of reasons why humans need to deforest. It could be for mining purpose, for construction of roads, buildings, dams, etc. So what happens as a result of this is, again, when the trees are all uprooted and instead of that, some construction takes place in the area, the number of trees in that particular area goes down, and thus this also results in soil erosion. Now, after learning the reasons for soil erosion, we are going to learn why is it important to learn soil erosion and what could be the effects of soil erosion. Well, the first major reason or the effect of soil erosion could be decreased groundwater level. Now, in order to explain this in detail, consider a scenario where there is a land covered by soil. Now, when the water falls, when the rain falls on the ground, all the water is trapped in the soil and slowly gets absorbed into the land, which forms the groundwater level. But in case there is a soil erosion in an area, the water that is falling will just flow away. The soil is not there to hold it on the land. So what will happen is gradually the groundwater level depletion occurs. The next one, there will be flooding. Again, the same concept is applicable here, wherein the soil is binding all the trees, etc. together. The soil and the plants are in a symbiotic relation wherein they help each other to stay in a place. When the soil is slowly getting eroded away, the water just flows very quickly due to the absence of plants and trees, and that results in flooding. The next is the opposite of flooding, which is drought, which is as a result of the groundwater depletion. The next one is soil infertility. Now, infertility refers to the lack of nutrients in the soil, as a result of which crops and plants are unable to grow in a particular area. Now, during soil erosion, the top layer of the soil is the one that is first eroded away. And as we know, a lot of inorganic substances which are necessary for the growth of plants and trees are present in this top layer of the soil. We refer to this as the humus. So as and when the humus is getting removed away or washed away, the crop yield goes down. The plants are not able to grow well, and thus the crop yield goes down. The last effect of soil erosion is going to be decreased water absorption. Again, this is related to the first point, where the water absorbed into the land is very less because, of course, there is no soil, there are no many plants growing, and that will again result in the groundwater level depletion. So these are the effects of soil erosion. Now, there are a lot of measures that we can take on an individual and a large scale level to prevent soil erosion. The first and the foremost will be afforestation, which is nothing but large scale planting of more trees. And in order to prevent a particular area which is deforested, we need to plant trees which have preferably long and deep roots, which will help to bind the soil particles together. So the first and obvious solution is planting more trees, which is also called as afforestation. The next one is going to be slope farming. Now, it is very obvious that the soil in the mountainous area will be the first one to get eroded in case of hurricanes, floods, etc. In case we are planting a lot of trees in that particular slopy region, it will prevent or it will slow down the process of soil erosion. That could be the second measure that we can take. The third one is to take care that the grazing by animals is very much under control. Excessive grazing by animals will again result in soil erosion. The next one is afforestation campaign. There are a lot of festivals like Vana Mahotsava festival, etc., which are carried out in our country in order to plant more trees. And huge and large scale campaigns are conducted every year in order to plant more trees. The next one is the usage of better drainage systems. In a growing economy like India, the drainage system needs to be really well developed. Here in our country, the moment it rains for 10 to 15 minutes, we see that all the drainage systems are clogged and the water is all stagnant. If the water is allowed to be stagnant over the soil for longer periods of time, this will result in leaching away of all the mineral content and the organic content of the soil, which will result in soil erosion. So this has to be prevented. The last and the very effective way, which can be followed by each and every one of us, even at our household level, is by rainwater harvesting. Instead of allowing the rainwater to be wasted or leaching away the soil, we can actually harvest this water and store it for future use. So these are some of the methods that are used to prevent soil erosion. Now, based on our understanding of what we have just gone through, there is a very simple question, which is that it is observed that in urban areas, the level of groundwater is much lower when compared to that of rural areas. And this is a common observation, not just in our country, but in every part of the world. Now, can we think of two reasons why this usually happens? That the groundwater level is much lower in urban areas, which is like the cities and towns, when compared to that of rural areas like villages.